you guys. It's me, Dr. Torie. My book is officially out. And yes, it is time to talk about ACEs. You guys can find the books everywhere. However, I would encourage you guys to go to my website, Be VicTORIEus.com, and place your order today. Yes, it's time to talk about ACEs. Let's go, y'all.
Hello, 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 you guys. I'm back. Welcome to episode 101, the Cycle Breaker episode. My name is Dr. Victorious, the ACEs educator, here to talk about what cycle breaking looks like. I want to start off by letting you all know we had our second annual ACEs Awareness International Conference. And when I tell you it was wonderful, it was wonderful. We had over 30 speakers. We had panelists. We had college students. We had students. We achieved our goal of bringing ACEs education to the DFW area. And when we did it, we did it. But I have to share the highlight of the conference was the inaugural Cycle Breaker Legacy Scholarship Gala. Marv, where are you? Let's talk about this.
What's up? I really like that international. That's can't
Yeah.
can't we can't downplay that. That's a major thing.
Well,
International.
so this is the wonderful thing. With the conference this year, we still had international reach. We knew that we were having some issues last year, but this year, haha, we had virtual options, and it was a pleasure to see Dr. Lydia from the United Kingdom for lunch. She went over the mother womb and the father womb, and it was an amazing sight to see. So we got to watch that during lunch, and it was wonderful. We're not letting this war stop us from getting and doing what we need to do. And we put out an initiative last year to talk about ACEs, and here we are. I'm humbled, very, very humbled
That's an
because people
amazing thing.
traveled.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing because her story, I remember her episode, and the times where you and I talk on this show, I often, talk about how like when we first started, I was like, I don't know if I could do this, and then, I got tougher and was
Hmm.
able to handle it. But her episode, the story that she shared, it was deep. It was
Yes.
definitely probably needed a trigger warning on it for some people. So for her to talk about the mother and father wound, that's significant for a lot of people. A lot of people are grown in their 40s, 50s, and they're still dealing with that. They're still dealing
Yep.
with that challenge. And
Yep.
I appreciate this show because it has equipped me to better handle my friends who are dealing with that. I've always told people like I hit the lottery when it came to my parents. They were not perfect by any stretch, especially Marvin Sayer.
Right.
But my mom, did so much for me. And I was talking to a friend of mine that had issues with her mom, the mother wound deal. And she said, not everybody had a Mildred. And my
Ooh.
mom's name was Mildred. So I'm better equipped to handle my friends and not, be the, oh, still your mama. That's still your mama. No, no, it's okay to set boundaries. It's
Right.
okay to expect for somebody to respect you and to value you and not mistreat you. And that all came from the tools I got from the show. So yeah, I'm sad that I missed, Dr. Lydia, but I'm sure it was phenomenal.
It was great. I'm just everybody, the people travel. We talking about from Los Angeles to Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like people
Yeah.
traveled. And the crazy thing is with everything that's going on within the current administration, within today's society, we're in a war right now. We are. But that did not stop. People showed all the way up. It was humbling to me because I was still sending emails. Okay, checking in. You guys okay? Are you good? How's flights? How's things?
Yeah.
And when your purpose is being met and you know you're fulfilling that, people will show up. I was reading over some of the comments in regards to, feedback. And one of the things that was mentioned was that I can't have speakers going at the same time. I'll accept the compliment. I will. I will. I didn't see that as a critique at all. And I'll give you an example. Dr. Worthy made her mark in there in the room. Everybody knew who she was. Everybody was looking for her. But the schedule had Angelique from Vegas, VZ Spaces, and Dr. Worthy at the same time. And people started catching on, like, I'm trying to jump into both, and I don't want to leave one because somebody else is doing this. So I went to both speakers and said, okay, Dr. Worthy, can you just do me a favor? Can you and then
Yeah.
and then I'll talk to the audience and say, yeah, just give me an hour. I promise you, you're going to want to hear both speakers. I know. Let's just do it this way. And
But that's
the
part of growth, though.
reward.
That's part of growth because, like, when you
Yeah.
go to like established major conferences, and I say established because your conference is major, right?
Hmm.
This year two, and we're growing.
Yes.
That happens all the time. You
Yes.
have different panelists going on at the same time. And when you are offering a wealth of information that touches so many different things, when it touches like PTSD, when it
Yes.
touches, ACEs awareness, it touches all the different things that you're touching, you have to kind of there's a schedule, as people have to make a choice to go
Yeah.
here or go there. So
Yeah.
it's a good problem to have because you're growing, but I definitely understand people saying, I didn't want to miss out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will take that one. I will take that one. You know what I mean? Because what else could I do? Like when I tell you the proposals came in, the committee was like, my God. I'll give you an example. Ty Sheila Justice, she was the bookend speaker. I had to look into it. She started our conference off and she ended our conference off, but she submitted proposals. She wanted to make sure that she got the right proposal in. And so when you got a proposal or people looking for the Cycle Breaker Gala and speakers and people looking for the ACES conference and speakers, they didn't see name, they saw content. And when I saw that Tashila's name was twice, I said, that's dope. I admire her. The She's been on a podcast. And so what people started to catch on to is that it's the podcast that's connecting the
Yeah.
community.
Mhm.
Because people are going back to the podcast and saying, I remember her, she was episode 32.
Mhm.
Or with the class that we have, shout out to Train the Trainer, when they would have homework assignments, they had to go back and do feedback amongst the people that were inside of the class. So it's being used as an educational tool. And I think that's what I love the most because there are people internationally that are also using this as an educational tool to learn more about ACEs. So when I mean talking about ACEs, we are talking about it. And for year two, yeah, we proved that. It was an amazing thing to see.
That's why, it just reaffirms the decision that you made to do a podcast because your podcast did build a community. It did
Yep.
build an international community, and it all came from you wanting to spread the word about ACEs and doing it through your platform, through, YouTube and through, different audio. People can listen, they can watch, they can do whatever, and then they can also read the book. They could do all of these things, and then you have a conference as well. And,
Yep.
I think people are able to not only find a common thread, which is
Hmm.
ACEs, but then, because ACEs, you say it's a good thing, but often it's rooted in something that was negative, right? But I think
Yeah,
the thing is that the community that you build, not only just people who've been through stuff, there's also people who have overcome the
exactly.
cycle breakers.
Exactly. So let's go into the cycle breaker. I think people have to understand, and I will share with this. When we did year one of the conference, I was more into who's your superhero? Who is you? Are you the if you were to choose a superhero, which superhero are you? And of course, I was like, I'm Wonder Woman. But then I thought about it. We're actually our own heroes. because we're the ones that's breaking the generational curses. We're the ones that are taking on this role of cycle breakers and maximizing it to a level where people can understand and find it relatable. So again, to have 30 people over, it was more people than that to say, yeah, I'm a cycle breaker. Why not? So when I thought about it, I've always shared that I'm a cycle breaker. I've never hidden it. I mean, again, that I shared my story. I shared it enough where people understand. However, I represent Kansas City because I do. I'm born and raised is what it is. Kansas City Chiefs fan. But when you think about Kansas City and the outcome, how many people actually make it out? How many people actually do the things that I did? Again, it might not be a big deal to other people, but to graduate from high school, it's a big deal. It is because it's people out here that don't.
Yeah.
And not to knock anybody. And like I said, I've had, and I will say it in the camera, numerous discussions with my family. And I'm still going to talk about it because it is what it is. I can't hide who I am or what I did or how I did it to get here. But I'm a first generation high school graduate. It's not to shame my mom, it's not to shame my dad. We live in a different society in 2026. They painted the road and the vision for me to get where I am. So I will always give them homage for that. However, that's what cycle breaking looks like. And for me, it started my senior year in high school.
And I don't know if people give that enough credit. And I'm not talking about being a cycle breaker, but I mean talking about the story.
Right.
Because I've talked to a number of people who have overcome different things, right? Terrible things.
Hmm.
And a lot of it was, if it wasn't their parents doing something to them, is because of decisions that their parents made that put those people in situations where they suffer what they suffered. And
Yep.
a lot of times I'm like, well, you need to tell your story. Look at your life now. Look at what you're doing now. And the thing that they said is, I don't want to hurt my family. And I was like, well, yeah, but it's your story. And
Right.
it said they was like, yeah, but if I say something, if I put it in a book, it's going to embarrass my mom. And I'm like, I get that, but if you wanted to share your story, then and look, I know it's probably easier said than done to be able to go and talk to your parents and be like, hey, listen, I want to tell, especially the Black community, I'm telling the family business. So that courage that you had to do this, I don't think it should be taken lightly.
I think that's where the imposter syndrome also comes in because that was one of the main things we talked about at the conference where we're dimming our light all because we don't we're told to keep in the family secrets or don't say anything or don't. But I'm a first generation high school graduate, turned college graduate, turned the first on both sides of my family. I can't help that. I can't. I cannot
PhD.
continue to dim my light because I'm Dr. Torie. I cannot do
Yeah,
that.
you ain't just a high school first generation of high school graduate. You a PhD.
And people don't get that with 3 kids,
It takes a lot of grit,
married.
determination. Yeah.
And people just don't understand that aspect. So I never wanted to stop what I created, and that was my motivation to keep going. So even when I moved to Chicago, the first school that I taught at was Chicago Vocational. Anybody know anything about Chicago? You taught at CVS, you didn't taught in one of the, and I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I knew I could take on Chicago if I came from Kansas City. And where I came from in Kansas City, I knew Chicago, and I'm just being honest, would be easy because I've lived it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it was easy work for me to go to Chicago and say, hey, I want to do this. At that time, remember, well, I'm saying at that time, because you all may not remember, us that was fresh out of high school had the opportunity to go teach, and they would pay for us to go and get our license and all of that. And the president at the time, Mr. Bush, decided to cut that. And we had to stop in the middle of being in school, going to get our degrees, getting us prepped, and they paid for it to stop altogether.
It's that no
So,
child left behind program
exactly.
ended up leaving a lot of children behind.
Exactly. And so what do I do? I went into doing college advising, which I thought was cool. I met a lot of wonderful people then. But with the college advising, I went and took the opportunity to get my master's degree. So I actually received my master's in business administration first. I did that when I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. I said, I got to change my life. I got to do something because this ain't it. And when
Mhm.
I went and got my master's of business administration, I made sure I fed that book to her in my belly. And here we are 20 years later. So, yes, I've been in education for quite a while and I wouldn't change anything.
Now
But
she's
when
now
I,
she's in college. Mhm.
yes, and it's an amazing thing to see because that was my journey. That's to me when I started teaching. Right when I got my master's of business administration, I went in and said, yeah, I got to teach because I can't be a businesswoman and raise this kid. I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
And that's when I found District 205, Thornwood High School. That's where I started. It
Mhm.
started at Thornwood, and so I switched from Thornwood to Urban Prep because I got an opportunity. This was the first year that Urban Prep was opening. This was the all male school in Chicago with a 100% graduation rate. It was the first year, and they needed a special education program, and I did it. I had no other choice. I had just graduated with my master's in teaching with special education, and they didn't know about special education at that time. There was a young man that was included and the teacher was like, go ahead and read. And he went off, FUB.
Mhm.
I said, you don't have a special education class and you need a special education department as soon as possible. And they did it. I
Yeah.
did that first year, got that recognition for that first year, but that commute back to Chicago, moving out to the suburbs with a kid just didn't work. So that's why I tried Thornwood. Thornwood accepted me back for leaving, but Thornridge, gotta give her a props. Kim Mahler, said, come to Thornridge. They talk about us, but I think you'll like it. And I loved it. That's who created Dr. Victorious. I did the 13 years there. I loved it. When I mean loved it. I put every kid in extracurricular activity, and that's where I did my study. So that is how I became victorious through Thornridge High School. Absolutely.
And the thing about it is, we did a breaker series.
Mm-hmm.
These people had already overcome on their own. They came to tell their
Yep.
stories.
Yep.
But I think what people didn't realize until you just told like a brief portion of your story is not only are you a cycle breaker, but more than likely, if we really sat down and talked about the different children that you touched, you probably created several cycle breakers as well. Like I remember you used to tell me about how like you would be coaching bowling, so they're having the kids bowling, and that's not something typical for a black school, whatever, like the bowling team or whatever. But you were just doing anything in a city that could be so treacherous and so dangerous to young people,
Mm-hmm.
and
I brag.
you don't know, you don't know, you probably know, but people just probably underestimate how many lives you probably saved. Now you couldn't get to all of them because you shared those sad stories with me, but how many people you got to college?
Yeah.
People you just saved their life. Maybe they might have went a certain direction and it could have turned out bad, but instead they said, I'm gonna go bowling with Dr. Torie. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
this is the
saved their
reason
lives.
why when I left education in 2023, we had to create Be Victorious Foundation because I couldn't just leave education when I still got students saying, hey, can you write my recommendation letter for college? Or, hey, I got a question. Can you help me? Or, hey, how did you do this? I need your help and support. That's what the foundation is for. I can't get rid of mentorship. I've been doing it for too long. So it's hard to get rid of something that you've done naturally for over 30 years. And so that's the reason why Be Victorious Foundation is what it is today. Like it is a one-stop shop. We mentor everybody. We talking about from your high school all the way to the doctoral program at this point. It was honorable to have Dr. Michael Davis get his doctorate degree on Wednesday and be at the conference on Friday. I said, listen, this is what we are doing, and I'll be the first person to get recognition for you being at this conference
Mhm.
first. And he said, I didn't even think about it that, but that's what cycle breakers do. We think above the norm to do what we need to do in order to continue to raise awareness on what cycle breaking looks like.
Yeah. What's next for you in your army of cycle breakers? Because it's one of the things that, I'm in sales, for my 9 to 5. And the thing that we try to do is a military term, it's called force multipliers. Meaning if I
Yes.
teach a bunch of people to do what I can do, then they'll go out and spread the message, and I can expand my reach and I can do more work. So now that you've created this army of cycle breakers, what's the next step?
I actually didn't create anything. I just brought the awareness to people that I knew could relate.
That
So I'll give you an example. When we talked about the Cycle Breaker Legacy Gala, there was actually nominations. There were nominees that people actually wrote nominations for. However, all of the people that have been on the podcast, it came on the podcast because they were cycle breakers.
Mhm.
So I could not include the people that were already guests, not even guests, but they were speakers and signed up to speak for the conference. So it was more or less, hey, you've been nominated. What does cycle breaker look like to you? And it opened up like a cycle breaker box just to hear their stories of them sharing exactly what cycle breaking looks like to me. I wish I can share their stories. However, that's the reason why we're going to highlight each and every one of them because everybody brought their story. It was an honor to stand there. And I got to shout out Tyler, my Dallas lead ambassador that does her thing. She read off the name. I read off who they was, shared their story, and as they walked off, it was the most powerful thing that I have seen. Just to hear their names and then they share, I'm a cycle breaker because and this. What makes me a cycle breaker? And it was like you can see the standing and the shoulders back. It was just to get the receive the feedback
That probably
from
would have
that.
brought a tear to my eye, honestly.
Man, it was so endearing. Like it was amazing because people didn't hide it. They did not hide their cycle breaking realization moment. Like me with my shoulders up now. It was a wonderful thing to see. So the room of empowerment was what people saw. I know for a fact they're going to look for next year. So that's the reason why we're doing it different. I would love to continue to meet cycle breakers because we're bringing awareness to not just an ACEs score, but to people that are breaking generational curses. And I think that's what's needed today in 2026 when you have administration that's trying to normalize the things under the ACEs umbrella that we're trying to bring awareness to. So, for example, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. This should be the appetizer. ACEs is always, to me, the appetizer of a wonderful conversation. However, when you look at it from an ending or a healing standpoint, us cycle breakers heal out loud. We have no other choice because our information is out here and our inner child is saying, do it. Because there was a situation before when this was happening, and now look at what you've done. I'll give you an example because it was the sweetest thing ever. Shout out to Justine. Justine, I met through somebody in the community. Shout out to Jorge. Jorge went through each 10 questions of the ACEs quiz. Jorge is, when I mean healing out loud, he is healing out loud, and it's a wonderful thing to see. People have signed up for ACEs 101. We've been having the ACEs 101 classes, and Justine said, I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's you, Dr. Torie. I said, what you mean? What's going on? What I do? She said, mm. She said, you got Jorge in church. I started laughing. I said, yeah. She said, because I know Jorge and I met Jorge. And I met Jorge sharing his story, who was also on the podcast, about his sexual abuse and how he has moved away from the church. So to have that documentation and that picture of him at my church waving and enjoying the service,
Yeah,
that's not just me. It's the awareness of ACEs and understanding who you are and the fact that you're able to heal out loud that's making more cycle breakers understand what cycle breaking is and what it looks like. Because Justine has already signed up for trainer. She ready.
mm,
So again, we just got to continue doing what we're doing. This podcast has always been an educational tool, but it needs to be people like us.
yeah,
Here I am,
yes.
episode 101. We got to keep this going and this momentum going because it's bringing awareness in ways that is not just educating people, but it's helping people heal in the community that they know can actually benefit from them. We can't keep looking at ACEs like it's a bad thing when it's really an awareness tool to help you hear.
That's what it is. Yeah. And I remember you used to always say it's not a bad thing. And I was be like, boy, but now I understand. I understand how the awareness empowers and
Yes.
it helps you to move past. Because I think it's sad when you encounter somebody who can't build that proverbial bridge and get over it. And I don't mean like to be like, oh, just it happened, get over it. No, to do what it takes to get over it, like to heal
Hmm.
yourself. Um,
Right.
I had a relationship in the past and I had to let it go. And
Mm.
most of the relationship was great. We enjoyed each other, we had fun, but I knew the what I was dealing with when it comes to mental health. And I
Right.
knew that she was also dealing with something and it stemmed from childhood trauma.
Right.
So those ACEs were impacting her in ways that she didn't see. And I was like, look, if you've been in a relationship with somebody who hasn't dealt with their mental health or whatever, it's not uncommon to me, to that person who's dealing with it, to take the other person down. And I knew that I'd overcome and I couldn't go back there. I couldn't go back. So,
You
you know,
learning,
so
Mom.
that awareness, so I had to cut a good relationship off because I had to choose
Mm-hmm.
myself. I had to
Mm-hmm.
choose myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that awareness and these tools that you are giving people, I hope that this continues. And I know you've got some stuff in the works that I know you probably
Well,
already got
this is
planned.
the thing. I want to keep this going because this movement is something that really it is ignited. Like you got to think about it. We're still posting about the conference.
Mhm.
It's May. It's almost a month in, and it's an amazing thing to see that people were taking notes. People were recording. People took the things that was said and are using it, or the people that have connected it's if I can explain it, it would be a wonderful thing to continue to see and witness, which is the reason why I need people to bring this awareness, bring me more cycle breakers. That's the reason why we have this podcast in the first place. We do ACEs Lunch and Learns. We do have a community where people are talking, but that's the reason why I am here. I am here, you guys, for help. I am here to help you take whatever next steps you need on your ACEs journey to not just understand your ACEs score, but heal out loud in a community that's doing the same naturally. It ain't just me, it's other people that are actually stepping up to the plate to get again. When I can name so many, the Texas Women University panel, that discussion was so powerful. It ignited the freshman panel. Oh, that was everything. When I mean to see. my oldest that I talk about, lead a panel and do what she did. She wasn't the person that led, it was Tyler. And when I tell you Tyler in her questions and in her facilitating, my God, her and Coach Show, these are people that I have mentored. These women I had when they were in high school. These were adults.
Hmm.
These are women that are still on this journey with me. I must be doing something right, but I want to share that we're cycle breakers.
Hmm. Yeah.
And once you understand what it looks like and you understand the legacy that you're building and you're creating, it can happen. So, again, we are going to highlight the cycle breakers and let you all know who the honorees are. And we're going to have a fundraiser for the foundation because we've always supported people. I'll give you an example. Kimberly Allison is a cycle breaker. We do the Lockapalooza together. We, Be Victorious Foundation, and Lock by London have been doing this for the past 2 years. We collect toys, we do what we need to do. The locticians lock, they cut hair, I mean, it's so much. Oh, it is a wonderful thing to see. And we raise funds for the Tevin Newman Scholarship Fund, who's going to be presented and awarded to someone at Thornridge this year. I'm humbled. We have to keep doing these things because not are we bringing awareness to the community, but we're opening up for other people to say, I'm a cycle breaker too.
Yep.
That's how we started with ACEs. Remember, people
Right.
didn't know. We
Mhm.
gave them that quiz. They defined the ACEs score, and here we are.
Right. Absolutely.
You ready?
I am. You know I am.
Because when I tell you I'm looking forward to this, I'm looking forward to this. Now, I want to, while we have this opportunity, give you all of your wonderful credit because you have also grown as well. You got awarded a lot of awards while we were on break.
Now
Tell
you
me a
know.
little
Now,
bit.
now you know. I don't like talking about that, but
And
I was.
you
I
know the
was.
reason why I brought it up because we started off the episode talking about imposter syndrome and how we don't want to, and
Yeah.
you just was about to dim your light. So tell me more about it, Marv.
Okay. I'll agree to disagree on them in my life, but um, so I received an award. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I was not at the second annual International ACEs Awareness Conference was because I had a commitment from my fraternity. Our chapter had its 60th reunion. So it was important that I was there. We had a lot of things going on because there is a lot of racial turmoil at my alma mater. And at that time, the university had made a very bold move that is going to severely limit the experience that the Black students on the University of Missouri has. And that's something that I've highlighted before. I produced a documentary about my chapter, and we talked about the racism that young people, young Black people, have encountered at the University of Missouri. It was through the lens of my fraternity, but it's really the experience of every Black student that went there.
Mm-hmm.
So we were there to help the college students, to talk to them, to make ourselves available as mentors, and to let the university know that alumni do care about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So during that weekend, I was recognized for the service that I've done to the chapter in terms of producing the documentary. And then also, I do a lot of mentorship with the current, whatever the young current brothers that are on campus from our chapter. I mentor them along with some other brothers, but I'm the one that usually organizes, and we make sure that we help them develop from young men and to have that connection between the old or the middle aged and the young. So definitely I was awarded for that. And I'm much appreciative because it's good to be recognized by your brothers, because when I'm in a room with those gentlemen, I'm in a room of literally CEOs,
Mm-hmm.
top attorneys, doctors. And
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about imposter syndrome, I'm just a little boy from Topeka, Kansas. And there's no way that I compare to these guys. And they sat there and I got a standing ovation and applause and so many I'm proud of yous and all of that. So it was good to be recognized. But I'm still working. I'm actually organizing a men's conference in my hometown. I'm originally from Topeka, Kansas. And if you know anything about the Midwest, see, Dr. Torie grew up in Kansas City. So about 60 miles to the west of Kansas City is Topeka, Kansas. Now, growing
Mhm.
up in the Midwest, for those, because this is an international show, during Dr. Torie and I's time in high school, junior high, that was right about when the crack epidemic hit. And it hit the Midwest hard. And so you had the influx of crack, which was highly addictive, and you also had gangs. So I come from a hometown where Brown was supported education. I come from
Yep.
a generation of fighters. The Brown family, they're literally my family, not by blood, but I grew up with their grandson, going on
Mhm.
events with them. So it's in me to fight and to speak up to try to improve our condition. And for a long time, because I moved away, I've never done anything for my hometown. So, God put on my heart to say, okay, you've been all over this country. Now it's time for you to go home. So
Mhm.
we have some mental health therapists that are going to come and talk about anger management, uh, talking about conflict resolution, because that's something that impacts, the Black community, and especially not only on the streets, but also how we deal with each other as men and women. You
Right.
I did a show on my podcast, Conversate with Us, where we talked about the domestic violence and how it impacts Black women disproportionately. So the people that we need to reach with that is the men. And
Hmm.
I've got people that are coming out to talk about that. I have a young lady who contacted me, and she's a doula, and she will be helping. She helps women, obviously, with childbirth, but she said one of the things that was missing was the men. The men didn't know what to do, or they were slow. So she is building a support system for the men. They're calling it Dad's Den. So she'll be
Mm.
talk about that, and obviously, some of us way past having kids, but we got
Right.
kids who can have kids, that are adults, and to be able to support them in that way. And then, there's a couple other speakers too that I haven't, put out there just yet. But I'm inspired by Dr. Torie. Dr. Torie never lets the grass grow beneath her feet. She's always moving. She's always plotting and planning and strategizing. And she's inspired me just like she's inspired you all. So I'm constantly trying to do something. So that's what I got going on. What else
And
you?
hit, hit, you guys. We just introduced another cycle breaker. Surprise.
Yeah.
This is me and the people that were at that conference for the first year and the second year. And anybody that knows me, y'all know me. I just got you, Marv. Surprise. Do you accept your title as a cycle breaker?
Yes. I mean,
Very
I
good.
already knew I was a cycle breaker for a lot of stuff that, again,
Yes.
again, I remember when we first started the show, I was like, I got no aces, maybe a one. Then, I started saying, well, you know what? I might be a three. Yeah.
I just did my post. I started off as a three. I'm back. I'm at a six now. So I didn't double my score just by ACES education. Let's be clear. This is the reason why we are here, you guys. It's an honor. You all, this man is an author. He is everything a cycle breaker looks like in the dictionary. Just like that, I promise. And we have to, we know that there are other people out there. So let us know. Bring them to us. And even if you are still questioning, we have a class coming up because there are people out here that really don't know what cycle breaking means, what it looks like, just like we had people that didn't know about ACEs 101. I think more of this is needed. So what we're going to do is start putting this information out here. I will let people know the website has been updated. There's a lot of valuable new updates on BeVicTORIEus.com. I think people should go and see if you're interested in signing up for the Cycle Breaker series. It's available if you want to donate. We are accepting donations all of the time. This is what Be Victorious Foundation is if you all want to continue to keep those free resources that we've given out, including this podcast, you guys please donate, recommend, refer, do what you need in order for us to continue to grow and heal as a community. And with that being said, Marv,
I'm
I'm
looking
ready.
forward to it. I'm looking forward to Cycle Breaker one-on-one. I'm looking forward to people donating for this fundraiser, and I'm
Yes,
looking forward to continuing the podcast. And I'm glad to be on episode 101.
my blessings. You all can find us anywhere. Of course, we're home on YouTube, but our podcast streams everywhere. You can catch me on Thursdays for Aces Lunch and Learn. And Marv, you got a lot going on. Tell us where they can find you.
You can also go to my podcast on Instagram, The Man Listen Show. I'm wearing one of the hoodies right here, so I was promote the brand. It's at Man Listen Show, so you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. I also have two other podcasts. One, Conversate with Us. Conversate stands for communicate, converse, and relate. And I have guests that come on and talk about current topics. Dr. Torie's been on the show. And then I also have Conversate After Dark, which is a relationship podcast that, sometimes get a little racy. Dr. Torie was on there too. So I got that. And then, like I said, I have the inaugural Active Black Dad Leadership Seminar Conference in Topeka, Kansas, June 27th. Please, if you're in the Topeka, Kansas area, Lawrence, Kansas, surrounding areas, please tell every Black man that you know that they need to come out and get some of this knowledge. So June 27th.
And I will tell you guys, my ACEs research is still out there. It's going to be perfect for this conference. So you guys will see. I will do the best that I can in regards to making sure that this conference is what Marv wants it to be, because to be in Top City, having this type of volume, like how Marv said, in a city and in a state where this is needed, I'm honored. I am. And we got to continue to keep having this conversation. So you guys will continue to see us soon. We have reached another episode, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye bye, you guys.
Peace.